Okay.
I think they do have to ask,
It's working.
wow.
They're tested again.
Yeah, you should be good now.
Yeah, well, except for the echo.
I'm turning it down.
Well, why'd you have it turned up?
Just a bit outside.
I didn't turn it up. It comes on like full blast. Testing. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better.
Okay.
All right,
You ready?
Thank you.
Greg,
Okay.
you can
Well done,
resume.
Candy, thank you.
We will call the meeting to order. Thank you. And the first item is roll call.
Van Kampen,
Here.
Bano,
Here.
Molzon,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Smithback,
Here.
Polda,
Here.
Nelson, and Schnelly.
Here. Thank you. Next item, approval of minutes of December 4th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Good motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, public appearances. Just a minute. Are you here for a specific item?
Yes, I wasn't,
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the reason I'm asking the question. Do I have to read that entire, I can read the statement. We got one person. Come on up. Let us know what it's about.
I've heard it before, so, thank you.
Okay.
I'm Ann Michaels, and I live at 630 South Woods Edge Drive. So I'm here as a representative of the village, but I'm also representative as founder and executive director of Green Pastures Living, a nonprofit organization working to provide affordable and accessible senior housing in Dane County area and beyond. I'm also a participant of the Badger State Housing Alliance. I feel like there's an echo. Okay.
Yeah, she's working on it.
Okay, okay. As well as Townsmakers, where we, kind of small infill, we meet in Madison, working through AARP and things like that. Just how to creatively figure out the housing problems. And so I wanted to just share with you some of the things that have come up with the challenges of having working to figure out how to do affordable housing, because here in Dane County, we have really expensive land and we have some zoning challenges. And some of those just seem like mountains we just can't get around. But I feel like, especially with Townsmakers, we have really seen how local change can really figure out how we can make some waves in finding ways to make houses more affordable. So I'm here to kind of talk on, as you start the discussion on ADUs, that's why I'm here. But I figured since you're just discussing it, I would just speak here now. And so just like what can we do among the changes? And I wanted to, I take notes because I forget words, figure out how can we transform this narrative of housing challenges. In some ways to do that is when you're considering the changes to the zoning of ADUs. Because really what I hope to work on is the missing middle. We really hope to figure out how can we keep seniors and their families in the communities they've lived in. I've talked to many residents who say, I've lived here 30, 40, 50 years and I can't afford to stay here sustainably. And I think ADUs can be a tool we can use to make that possible. And just kind of wanted to talk about 3 different ways you can consider in your changing of ADUs to make things more available that currently aren't. 3 of them are, having it attached, having it owner occupied, and having non-related people. Oh, there's a 4th, and changing the square footage, and just showing that in kind of 3 different ways that it can be. One is, these are all real life, I just won't say who they are, but, you know, I've had older couples come to me and say, well, we have this lifetime home, but we have some space where we've wanted to have it detached so we can have a little space between our daughter who's going to take over our house. But we want to build a smaller, accessible home next on our lot. But they couldn't do that. And so having that zoning being permissive would give them a chance so that they can stay in a supported nearby, but not too close, house. So that's just an example of how considering having detached ADUs can open up more opportunities for people to remain living on their property. And then I go on to owner occupied, and there is a young family that came to me and saying, well, we have this house that has a lot that could have ADU, but we don't really have like family that we need, you know, to support right yet. But we would like to have an ADU in our backyard so that we can rent out to have a little extra income and also support maybe an older person who may want to have that accessibility and be able to rent that out. And so that's an example where having an unrelated person makes it just gentle density increasing, yet a possibility to have it supported. And I have a personal story where that actually happened to me. I grew up not having grandparents, but my neighbors next door were kind of my adopted grandparents. And so we had that relationship of supporting each other as unrelated people, but in community to keep them, you know, supported. And they were my grandparents all up until she passed away at 97. And she called me the day before she died saying, thank you so much for being that family to me. And so that is just a way that I want you to consider in your changes how a small town can support each other and increase housing density. I'd also consider the adding more square footage. Even I think Sonia even recommended up to 120 square feet. I think Madison is maybe 1,000 or 900. I think Oregon's currently 650. And just knowing, you know, I love tiny houses and ADUs, but their challenge is always the accessibility as well. And so having a bigger square footage allowance actually gives you more accessible turnarounds just in the planning of a one-story square footage ADU. And yeah, so just considering those changes to the ADU can just really offer a lot of possibilities. How am I doing on time? I feel like I talked forever, but did you take a time?
I don't think we have a lot of people that are worrying, so.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be 3 minutes, but.
Oh, 3 minutes?
But
I'll wrap it up.
let's let you finish what you want to say.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
But also just being on our Townsmakers, we just currently in our last couple sessions took the changes that Madison just did to its ADUs and we're like, okay, let's see as small developers if we could pick a lot and see with the allowances that Madison just did, could we even make the numbers work on the ADUs? And so I bring that up to say the numbers didn't work because even in the changes that they thought were beneficial to the ADUs, we couldn't get the numbers to work because Madison had a large impact fee, as well as like some sewer and setbacks that like just made it cost prohibitive to even try to do an ADU. And I know some ADUs aren't necessarily affordable, you know, but I feel like in a way you can be intentional in how you are changing the code to make it more possible to empower our Oregon residents to remain supported and sustainable living here. Thank you.
Thank you. I suspect you'll be here again.
Why? I live here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business then. Review and possible approval of an SIP plan for the new lift station at 109 and 131 West Richards Road. Applicant is Village of Oregon.
Just a reminder for folks, we tabled this last time. You all approved the CSM and the GDP, and then just coming back with some changes, so I'll let Ben walk us through those.
Perfect. Hi, everyone.
Hello?
All right. If you want to go to the site plan to begin
Sure.
with, Lauren, or Elise, whoever's driving.
Yep, I'm driving.
So we have updated site plans and renderings from our discussions back in December. Just to hit on kind of what has changed and what we've addressed. So from a site plan standpoint, you'll see the only thing that's really different at this point is we have added shrubbery along the north side of the site. There were a couple other specific site plan related comments that came from this committee or commission, and those were reviewed with staff. And actually, Elise, if you want to go down to the renderings, that might provide a better ability to see those. And actually go to the next one. So this, I guess I'll just talk through them as we go down. This is a view from the north as you come down Main Street. So behind, almost where the mouse is, you can see where the shrubbery would be and the relative heights for the infrastructure that is behind them. Scroll down one more. As we look at this part of the site, we did update the renderings to better show. So one of the comments previously received was the amount of space on what in this view is our side of the generator, which is the smaller, longer, that unit. And as you can see, that is being built on top of the old Richards Road lift station, the foundation of which is shown in an elevated format now. So after discussions with staff, accessibility to that was important. Wanted to maintain 5 feet of walking space around that without a tripping hazard. So we have a 5-foot sidewalk adjacent to the old foundation. We're not cutting out the old foundation of that lift station. Another comment, 2 comments related to grass or use of grass and use of pea gravel within the space. Again, after discussions with staff and serviceability, they preferred not to incorporate those items. But we also do show now the intent would be to paint the bollards a different color so that it is a more natural color as opposed to last time we saw it with yellow, so it's not quite so standoffish. As well as you can now see it renders with a Starry Night. That is not a formal selection so far. The intention is that the Oregon Art Committee will, I believe, have a competition or some sort of a thing to select a art, but the intention then would be to wrap both the generator and the valve enclosure that is the unit in back. We also have the generator rotated 180 degrees, so the gas service isn't in the public-facing side of things. I believe, yeah, you can just scroll through the rest of them as well. Couple things that were important as we also talked with Tom Dorn, that we do maintain or improve the sight lines there, so it was very important to him that we select shrubbery that does not further impede that corner. So that is going to be an arborvitae style shrub, but a limited height growth item. Lauren, did I miss anything with that description? All right. So happy to answer questions about the lift station, take comments, etc.
Anybody? Oh, Patrick.
I appreciate everything you've done. Okay, the shrubbery looks good, the wraps, in theory, look great. I still have a hang-up on the concrete. I understand why you want it. Here are my concerns. Number one is an impermeable surface, right? So we're adding to runoff a little bit more. Number two, my main concern is that kids are gonna play there, that they're gonna take scooters and skateboards, and I'm just worried about them getting injured. And then again, I think looking at pavers or some type of alternative solution could potentially be less costly. I don't know on that. So those are the 3 reasons why I don't like concrete. So I don't know if you have any comments to that, but
I guess ultimately it'd come down to, it's a similar arrangement to what's there. I can't disagree with you from an impervious surface standpoint, though it is a limited amount of space. Pavers would be more expensive. We have bid those side by side before, so. And yeah, a paver with some sort of an in-between to make an impervious.
Okay.
I know part of the space is currently parking lot for.
Yeah, so we are actually taking a couple stalls, so it's not all new impervious surface there. The village acquired property from Dorn, that includes 3 or 4 stalls, I think it is. You can tell on the site plan if you look at that.
Anybody else? I think, go ahead, John.
I agree with Patrick. Everything that you've said is an improvement over what we had presented. I think that, for me, the biggest benefit, beyond the landscaping was the fact that you changed the color of the bollards. I think that was huge. You know, if I'm 30 feet into a site, the last thing I need to do is have an insult of a,
Big old yellow bollard.
yeah, I know I'm gonna hit it.
Yep.
So I'm glad that you were able to change that color a little bit. I guess my question is, can you go into what the differences between a crushed granite versus a poured concrete might be? Instead of, you know, I understand pea gravel, you get into it, it gets rough, you dig into it, it's never level, it packs, but it doesn't really pack. Like a crushed granite is a nice walkable surface that compacts well, is semi-pervious-ish, and it's a lot softer than a hard concrete surface. Is there any opportunity to maybe swap out some of those surfaces from a poured concrete to a crushed granite option?
I think the ultimate answer there is just serviceability by village staff. You know, they're plowing, they're shoveling this in the winter, they're maintaining it, and there is a strong preference by them to not go to some sort of an impervious surface like that.
So the intention is to shovel and.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a fully accessed site
Okay.
year-round. Yeah,
Okay.
it has to be. Yep.
Okay, wasn't aware of that.
Sure.
That
Okay,
makes
sorry
sense.
about that.
No. Okay. All right, that answers the good question then, so, thank you.
Anybody else? Elise has some comments here, you know, about the flexibility of setbacks, et cetera. And then there's also down in the, under her recommendation for approval is the recording of a certified survey map to combine the two addresses, I guess. So those are all part of a motion if we have that, or you can incorporate it into it. So if anybody wants to make a motion to approve, or I can see what's the recommendation, to the village board, right? Or no?
No, it just stays.
It's revised, that's
what you
us,
guys-
yeah, I'm sorry, right, so it's, yeah, so the approval of the SIP plan for the new lift station with the comments made by Elise in her memo.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 6B, review and possible approval of resolution number 26-01, recommending to the adoption of a public participation plan for a comprehensive plan amendment.
All right, so a couple months ago, we had, actually, I think I ended up representing Hillcrest Bible Church because we were moving the meeting along so quickly, they didn't make it in time, but Hillcrest is planning on annexing about 2.5 acres of farmland just to the east of their property on East Netherwood Road on the other side of 14. So part of that process is currently that land is shown as ag in our future land use map, and it's going to be moved to institutional. The plan for that property is to be part of it'll be combined with the larger Hillcrest Bible Church parcel. That portion will be a new parking lot, and then we'll be seeing later on, probably later this year, an expansion to their church, so a site plan revision. And the parking lot is to support the larger square footage and an expanded use of the church. So comp plan to get that piece of property moved into institutional, it'll obviously be contingent upon annexation. So we're hoping we can kind of line up all of these approvals probably later in February or March at the board. But if you haven't been here for public or for a comp plan amendment, it's been a little while. We haven't done one with our new comp plan yet, so that's a good thing. We did a good job with those future land use categories, so this is our first one. But we do need to do an updated public participation plan that basically just outlines that people can participate at this public hearing, which will be the next planning commission meeting. It'll be a joint meeting with village board. So we come and hear the presentation. You all will vote to potentially recommend it to the village board, and then at their later February meeting, that'll likely be on their agenda as well. So this is just part of the process when we do a comp plan amendment. So have that resolution for you all, and just kind of explains why we reach out to the public. Letters have been sent, things like that already to neighbors and neighboring municipalities for the comp plan amendment.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that?
Is this the only proposed change to the comp plan?
Correct.
There's not any other cleanup items or anything on your list?
Not that we found right now. Mhm.
All right, pretty straightforward. Okay, we need a motion approval of the resolution number 2601, recommending the adoption of a public participation plan for a comprehensive plan amendment.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. And that again will be at our next plan commission meeting, which will be a combined meeting with the village board on the 5th of February. Okay. Moving along to item 6C for discussion only. Conversation regarding potential zoning text amendments. Reason is accessory dwelling units, ADUs.
All right, so probably towards the end of the summer, early fall, I brought to you all a list of potential zoning text amendments. Now that we've moved on from chickens and bees and metal fasteners, we can get to other things. So you all just give me the direction of whatever we want to tackle first. Let's just take them one at a time. So ADUs, accessory dwelling units, also known as granny flats, tiny homes, backyard cottages, all those things, has been a topic that comes up actually quite frequently with questions from neighbors. I would say, probably a handful of questions a year about, is the village gonna make any changes here? Explaining different situations. A lot of properties, especially in older neighborhoods of the village that are large lots that might have a carriage house, might have a large garage space. A lot of times it's family situations, children coming home from college and kind of wanting to have them close and give them a little bit of their own space and a head start on, their first place to live. Or older family members that want to live on site. Sometimes it's folks looking to expand their income and wanting to have some kind of a short-term rental option on their property, or just add to the housing stock. Maybe they would like to move to a tiny house, they want to stay in their neighborhood, they would maybe rent out a larger house. So a lot of different situations, and a lot of folks have been kind of waiting for us to tackle this. So I reached out to Sonia at Vanderwall just to have us have a memo put together about what do we currently have on our books, what other communities have, and just sort of what are the topic categories that different communities kind of get into, how do they vary. We don't have to get into all of, we can have as much discussion as you want tonight, or you can take some time to read this over and we can revisit, but I figured since we had a lighter agenda, I would at least get this in front of you. So I won't read this all, but she just describes a little bit about what are ADUs. Here's a graphic kind of describing there's, different types. Some are attached to homes, some are detached, above garages, basement units, things like that. Currently, we have something called an ARU, an accessory residential unit, or granny flat. This is only allowed in our SR6 zoning district, which is a single-family zoning district, small lot. They're typically, we only have a couple areas that are these, but usually condos or alley-loaded units. So like the narrower lots off Peterson Trail across from the park, those are SR6. The condos near Heidi Way, Charles Court, those are SR6. I believe it was sort of intended for units that would have maybe a separate garage but an apartment above. I don't believe there's anything that's actually built like this in that zoning district anywhere in the village, just because, you know, the houses weren't designed with that, you know, space kind of envisioned. So we do have some language already here. Again, it hasn't really been applied, but yeah, there's references to, you know, limit, you know, only up to 640 square feet, or it needs to be, you know, just for 1 to 2 people, different, you know, connections to the road, frontage, how things are metered, things like that. We do also have something called an in-family suite, which also I've heard called mother-in-law suites or just attached units. So a separate, you know, maybe wing of the house that is still attached through a living area to the house, but can have its own, you know, kitchen, laundry, kind of function as a little apartment. So those are allowed in pretty much every residential, single-family residential zoning district as a secondary use. So there's some language there about that. She just shows us here what's allowed in each of the residential zoning districts, either by right or not at all. The comp plan, obviously there's a lot of goals that are touched here, from housing affordability to different housing types. ADUs are often kind of touted as a way to add density to a community without changing the character of a neighborhood. They're often not very visible, and usually because of the cost of construction and, you know, impact fees and other things, I think a lot of communities have sort of sought it as an affordable housing solution, but they don't end up being that affordable. It's essentially like building a small house, and I think there's different ways that I've seen. There's land use trusts and other things that maybe there's a company you can, you know, rent out space, land on your lot, and they'll do all the building, they'll do all the, you know, rental management, things like that. I've seen that in larger cities, but typically it's just a homeowner pursuing this, and whether it's for a rental property or for a family member or something like that. So they're usually not many. I think Sonia told me since Madison did their update a couple of years ago, there's only been, I think she said,
49.
Not many. I think they were expecting more. So just kind of going through some of the what should be evaluated. So housing costs, neighborhood character, environmental considerations, a lot of pros here as far as I'm seeing, but again, how do we make the successful? If we really want to see this as a potential housing solution in the village, what are some barriers we can cut down to allow more flexibility, maybe make them a little bit more affordable and straightforward in the permitting process. There are other communities too that have a approved, kind of pre-approved blueprints for ADU. So if people are interested in doing this, they might have a couple of different units and say, you know, these meet all of our requirements. There's maybe a variety of different square feet options or something like that, but another way to maybe reduce the barrier and provide those plans for residents if they want to take advantage of that. So these are kind of the buckets of different details of ADU ordinances or sections of a code that most communities get into. So which zoning districts are they allowed in? Is owner occupancy required either of the principal, the main home, or the ADU? Allowing either is generally recommended to provide flexibility. So sometimes, again, those homeowners want to stay on the site, but they're comfortable living in that smaller space, maybe a newer, more accessible space. Setbacks, sometimes it's just treated as accessory structures. So, you know, we currently have 5 feet from side and rear property lines for accessory structures like sheds or detached garages. So are we comfortable with that? Do we want to see more setbacks? Size and square footage, height, parking requirements, different design standards, and then utilities addressing. Another thing to note is I believe quite a few of the newer neighborhoods in the village, probably in their covenants, deed restrictions, would be prohibiting detached units, so that's obviously a portion of the village, but, you know, we can only have control over our code if there are restrictions that are above and beyond what the village requires, and that's, you know, up to each neighborhood and an HOA to be enforcing, or dictating, so, there is some, there are some pending state bills around ADUs. It is very pro ADU, so if the bill advances, I know that they're still working on a lot of the language, but it would require that local governments cannot ban ADUs, so I don't think we're likely moving in that direction, but just wanted to let you know we're keeping an eye on that assembly bill. And then she provided some different examples, city of Middleton and Madison here, with some of their language, and then a table, we did something similar when we were doing the chickens and bees for some of our neighboring communities, but, what do they call it? What's permitted, or is it conditional? The owner occupancy question, how they handle that. If they limit number of people or number of families, the size limit, any, parking rules, requirements or not required at all, and then kind of other notes about design, so just kind of a comparison, but again, not sure how much you all want to kind of discuss this, if you want to digest and do a little bit of digging. I haven't done enough reading on this yet myself to kind of come forward with recommendations, but I can certainly do that at an upcoming meeting and come with a set of what I think would be appropriate for Oregon, and then get your reactions to that, but I guess if there's any of these topics that you really feel like you either want to dig into or you want to take more of a hands-off approach, communities have been all over the map as far as how in the weeds they want to get with ADUs, or if they leave it pretty open-ended. So just kind of curious about what you care about related to this topic, if anything, and if you'd like to, I guess how you'd like to move forward.
Look to you guys, what do you think? I don't know how much of you've read. Have you read this? I haven't read the whole thing, so I apologize.
I did read the whole thing.
Of course you did, I know you did.
He does.
I thought Sonia did a very nice job,
Yes,
kind of
you did.
summarizing it. I thought the table was, the appendix was the most helpful. I was shocked that Madison has only had 49 units. I don't remember the time frame, but I would have expected more. From the appendix, I agreed most with the APA best practices. I'm assuming that's American Planners Association. or
American
something?
Planning Association.
Yeah, so I agreed with just about everything that they suggested. I like there's some language on page 27 about, I think it's from Middleton's, on their architectural language. The accessory building must often be architecturally and aesthetically compatible with the principal dwelling. Personally, I prefer that we be as flexible as possible in what we write. Having said that, I wouldn't want us to reduce any setback requirements. I think that's heading into some dangerous territory. And then one thought as you were talking about how do you encourage this is, could we be flexible in reducing our fees, our building permit fees for ADUs?
I guess the closest example that we have on the books is for affordable housing. There's an ability for affordable housing developers to request a waiver for impact fees. So park impact fee, library impact fee, if there's a park improvement, park acquisition, kind of depends on what's applicable, but and obviously those are per unit, so if you're doing, you know, a multifamily unit, that adds up quite a bit. I don't believe we've actually had anybody request that yet, but that is in the code. So we can definitely have a conversation with the village attorney to see if there's something related to, is it ADU specific, or does it have to meet any kind of affordability, you know, details to qualify for that, but that could be one avenue. Impact fees are pretty, you know, substantial per unit, so depending on the fees, usually, I think all those fees are between like $800 a unit and be 1,600 a unit, so, and there could be up to 3 impact fees. So that could be one thing. Building permit fees as well. We just updated our building permit application. A lot of it is based on square footage, so hopefully the fee overall would be inherently less, but I can certainly look into what fees. Is it just impact fees or others that could be waived or reduced for ADUs?
What kind of timing do we have on something like this? I mean, is there, what kind of an idea do we have if we want to address this? And what kind of an end date are we looking at possibly, or?
It's, well, as we learned, the other zoning text amendments I thought were low-hanging fruit took us 3 years, so that's why I kind of want to take one topic at a time. I think, the mistake there was lumping a bunch of things together, and obviously there were some hot topics there, so it's up to us how quickly we want to move on this. Vanderwall has a lot of experience writing the code, and I don't have a lot of time right now, so I'll probably lean on them to come up with some example language, and then suggest what sections of the code would need to be updated. There's different tables that would need to reflect, zoning districts and things like that too, so we can move as quickly as we want, but yeah, I probably won't take on another zoning text amendment until we wrap this one up, but I would imagine, maybe 6 months or something by the time we have a couple drafts, and then we have to have, an ordinance and a public hearing and all of
Well,
that.
that's kind of why I'm asking, but, I don't know how much anybody else knows about this or has comments about it. And you haven't had time to really look at that much at this point, so is it something that we can, I don't want to kick things down the road, however, we want to make the time we have useful instead of just talking a lot about stuff.
Yep.
What do the rest of you fellas, what do you all think?
This topic is, very forefront in my industry and,
Yeah.
Across the country and, in the trade journals and things like that. It's an old idea that's come back new again and makes sense for a lot of the reasons. I was fascinated with Sonia's kind of summary of things and surprised that neighboring communities weren't more up to date with this, because it is a hot topic. We have plenty of staff resources, our consultant resources, and our commission. I mean, this should be right up our alley to tackle this and make an ordinance that makes sense, to see this in Oregon. So I'm fully in favor of it.
I am too. I think this is a good topic at a good time for us. And I think that what we need to do is figure out, it's sort of a two-headed monster. In my mind, we've got how do we develop existing conditions, and the other head of the monster is how do we develop for future development, or how do we plan for future development. And I think that the difficulty is that if we try to put everything in a box and in an existing condition, we're missing out on an opportunity for somebody to make something really kind of special and fun, and let's face it, quirky. So I think that part of the joy, energy that people might get from trying to do this in an existing condition is cut off at the knees because of some regulation, ordinance, or limitation. So my gut is to tell me, if I were to get to a quick answer, my gut is to tell me that existing conditions should be like a conditional use where we offer some flexibility, a quid pro quo kind of thing. Whereas new construction, maybe they start to do something where they write it into a covenants or language for their own specific zoning as a development, which would offer them flexibility to do that. I think that sort of two-headed approach sort of answers the solution of how do we handle existing and how do we handle new, in my mind. So I'll step back.
So just to clarify, are you thinking like for future subdivisions, for example, would that be something that we would be encouraging, requiring, trying to maybe limit subdivisions restricting them.
I think that I don't want to give that answer. And the reason why is I think that just like I don't wear the same color clothes you do, I don't think that some subdivisions are gonna be for everybody.
Mhm.
So I think that we leave that up to each individual development. My opinion.
I think if we wrote a code that was similar to like the best practices here, and then have something in that code that says that for existing conditions, there's a conditional use type
Okay.
application, maybe that,
Yeah.
that doesn't, so the best practices is for new construction, if they wanna include it in their development or whatever, it's there, it's like framework for it. But then, that doesn't, prohibit somebody from coming back with something that doesn't match, but it's quirky, or it's fun, or it's appropriate.
So are we saying at this point that maybe have Vanderwall make some kind of initial suggestions to review?
Yeah.
In the meantime, we should all review this again.
Look at some of the
If
examples.
that makes sense to everybody, we could do that, but, I guess keep it moving.
Yep.
But not having Vanderwall go to a lot, I don't think, a great deal of extent, because we're gonna have comments about it, right?
Yep.
We're gonna wanna-
Yeah, we won't put it in ordinance format or anything like that, just sort of
Right,
a
right.
draft, notes and things. I will say, just as far as conditional uses, since, I'm trying to remember what act it was, but since about 2018, conditional use permits have really been discouraged by all of our legal counsel. They don't really have a lot of teeth anymore, and if they meet all the requirements, you don't really have any opportunity to deny them, and it creates another step with the public hearing, creates another application fee. I think depending on where you want to go with it and how much influence you want to have as planning commission on approving these, if there's a way to make the process simple and enough, I guess detail that you all are comfortable with, that things can be approved at a staff level or a building permit level, that's another barrier and another fee, and time, sort of spent. Time is money for a lot of these different projects, and the construction costs, never go down. So that'd be another thing to really investigate. Do we want to make anything a conditional use permit when we're kind of being discouraged to, I think it's Act 67, to eliminate those where possible, and what things we really care about. If they're meeting all those requirements, is there any reason that they can't be approved at more of an administrative level? But that's something we can get into when we look at some example language.
And it doesn't have to be a conditional use permit, but something with that type of flexibility, I think, maybe. The staff
Is
approvals
there a
on it.
mechanism that allows us that flexibility on the backside? I think that's kind of what I'm after.
Allows you as planning commission, or allows just the village?
Well, I think that it would be nice to be able to review some of these things on a plan commission level. With that being said, I don't want to do 1,000 of these a year. So I don't know.
Right. I don't think we'll get 1,000. I'll be overjoyed if we get, 2 a year. So, from a timing perspective, maybe it is just like some kind of a site plan review or something like that too. But, if there's a set of requirements and they're meeting them, is it architectural type review or something like that you're doing, or?
Well, to your point about costs and fees, we could set up a separate cost structure for this type of development. Where the fee structure is such that instead of having to go through, picking a name, conditional use, site plan review, we call it ADU. I don't know.
Right, and it's a
Something,
flat.
and it's something, some nominal fee that gets buy-in from a client or from a customer, makes them feel like they have a commitment because they're writing a check for something, but it's not so much that it makes them prohibitive to want to do it.
All right, so it sounds like you're gonna ask Vanderwall to just kick some ideas our way, and we're gonna address it hopefully at the next meeting, depending, again, on the agenda. If the agenda gets really full.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes them to put some language
That's
together,
true,
but I think we
that's
have
true.
a lot of good examples from other communities. We're kind of a little, not compared to all the Dane County communities, but we're a little late to the game, I think, nationally, so we have the benefit of see what other communities have written and what's working well and what's not, and kind of take the best from all of those.
Good. All right, thanks. Thank you. There's no other new business. We'll move on to communication, miscellaneous business. Status of public works, public and private development projects.
So on the public side, we have 2 projects actually posted for bid today. So it's going to be a busy January. This kicks off, I think, a list of 4 major construction projects that will be posted this month. So today we have Gary Dish Park is up, and the Alpine and CC intersection right over there. The signalization and reworking of the intersection, that project is up for bids as well. So optimistic, January tends to be a pretty good time for bidding, and we're hoping that we get some good numbers. I believe next week, the senior center is gonna be posted, and that'll be a longer bidding period. And then a week following that, we'll have the intersection at Park and Waterman Street as well. Also kind of in the background, but certainly moving ahead, is the reconstruction of East Lincoln Street. That is a state-managed project, so we did receive funding from the Surface Transportation Urban Program. And so with that, they do actually manage the bidding and then the construction inspection. So I believe their let date for that project, along with the rest of the state projects, is in early February. So we'll find out within a month and a half probably where we land on that, and then move ahead with that this summer, along with all those other projects.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, East Lincoln or East Lincoln Street or Road?
East Lincoln Street. So East Lincoln Street between North Main Street
Yeah.
and Perry Parkway is getting reconstructed this
Really?
next year. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I used to live there a long time ago. That's fine.
Yeah, we figured that since we did Oak Street last year, we'd just rip the Band-Aid off and make the school district really hate us for like, just 2 years, and then we'll leave them alone for a little while.
All right. Thank you.
I will say, because I just kind of teased them, they've been excellent partners on this. We've really inconvenienced them, and they've been wonderful to work with, and we have nothing but good things to say about the way they've worked with us on that. I think that's, oh no, we still got the utilities to cover. So wastewater treatment project, again, pretty boring, and that's a great thing. It's continuing very well. It's on budget. It is on schedule. They do have the major foundation for the new intake station and preliminary treatment building poured, and they're moving ahead with building that up. They've also got most of the concrete work for the clarifiers and the UV treatment building up as well. As you just heard, the Richards Road project, that will likely start in late 2026, so we still have a ways before that one gets going, but that will be the same contractor. It's all under the same contract. The well projects are our last big ones, and those are finishing up. So that's well 3 and well 6. Those will both finish up around the end of March. Well 6 will be a lot more big construction, visible construction. Well 3 is kind of a lot of moving pieces, but interior to the building's a little bit less visible what's going on there. But those should both be online and ready to go by the end of March, going into spring and summer.
Okay, thank you. Upcoming Plan Commission meetings, dates again, Thursday, February 5th is a joint meeting with the Village Board, and Thursday, March 5th. And again, you also have in your packet the planning staff meeting agenda from December 3rd, 2025. Is there anything else?
Did you have anything for private development, Elise?
Yes, do you want to talk about any of the subdivisions, just what phases, things? I don't know if there's any update from last
There's not
month,
really
but.
anything major. I think that we,
Yeah.
going into construction.
Yeah, the former manor, the Main Street Senior Living, they're still working with their contractor in the fire department and building inspection to do some upgrades to the fire suppression system on the 2-story side, closer to North Main Street. So still some work to be done there before they can kind of occupancy of that side. They have not started construction yet on the renovation of the 1-story wing closer to Stoughton.
Okay.
But just spoke with them, I think yesterday or the day before, so that's, work still happening inside. I think if there's anything, any other projects, I'll let you guys know, MSP, the South Main Street Senior Project, that's due to funding, that's gonna be a 2027, construction
Okay.
likely, so I think that's it.
Anything else? Okay, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Good meeting. Thank you.